FTN right here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you, and producer Tino is going to join me throughout this show because we're going to take part in an Underdog best ball draft. I believe this is the third Tuesday in a row. We don't have too many Tuesdays left before the NFL actually gets underway. Week 2 of the preseason happening here this weekend. If you're looking for a recap of week 1 and you missed yesterday's show, be sure to check out our FTN YouTube page and a free article over at ftnfantasy.com breaking down all things from week 1, the takeaways, if we've overreacted in some spots, and if it's something or nothing or something we really need to monitor. And there was a lot to take away from week 1. And as I said yesterday, just no preseason last year. So everything kind of gets amplified just a little bit. But a few news and notes before we bring in Tino and we go through an Underdog best ball draft. I really wanted to just start early so we can get a feel of almost the whole thing. Hopefully we can get this in. But if you're unfamiliar with Underdog Fantasy, check them out, underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code FTN. And when you do, $25 in your account, they'll match that. And then away you go and you start drafting. And there's a new puppy draft on there as well. So we'll walk through it. It's a $5 draft. There's lots of prizes and a lot of fun. But a few news and notes before I just take care of some housekeeping stuff. The draft kit, it's launched, it's ready, it's draft season, it's here, it's volume 3. You see volume 1 on the graphic, but Jeff Ratcliffe updates this bad boy like, I think he may do it one more time before we actually get underway in the NFL season. But he's got projections on there, rankings, draft boards for whatever league that you play, half point, full point, whatever it is, super flex, and of course, just all the content that's already available to you. Ratcliffe has tiers. We all have a lot of stuff over at FTNFantasy.com, but there's some tiers, some rankings, some targets, all that good stuff. So the draft kit available over at FTNFantasy.com/pricing. And then as well as the 40 days of Discord continues all the way until week 1 of the NFL season. And all of us over at FTN taking the time to just answer your questions. If you have any questions, you could ask at any moment if you are part of the FTN family, but also just a coaching session as well as we go through all the experts over at FTN Fantasy. So a couple little news and notes for this morning before we get into the draft, and it's not really much. Tim Tebow released. He's done. He's cut. I don't know if you were able to see the footage that was released over the past couple of days of the inability to block. I mean, he was jacked and he was looking jacked, but the dude can't lay a block, so he's done, unfortunately. You know what? I thought he was going to stick around. Originally, I was like, no chance. He's not going to last through camp. There's a connection, of course, with Urban Meyer. I thought maybe he was just there for, kind of moral support, really, like, as Urban's guy and, buy into the system as a motivator. It was just little silly things. I didn't think he had too much to offer from an NFL standpoint, but I thought maybe he could catch one pass in the NFL or in preseason, like a little quick out, but he gone and he's done. Devonta Smith is going to do some drills here today at practice, so that's good news for the rookie wide receiver out of Philadelphia who is dealing with the knee injury. And then Darren Waller is practicing for the first time in over a couple weeks here. He was on the sidelines, and nobody really knew why it was listed as an ankle injury, but for Waller, it was kind of hushed. The Raiders didn't say a whole lot, but you can feel good about Darren Waller as he's the second tight end off the board. We'll get a good feel of where he goes here in the Underdog best ball draft in a few moments, but it's been late second, maybe early second here now that people, or midway through the second now that people are seeing him on the field, and we can all breathe a sigh of relief because he was an absolute beast last season. Justin Jefferson dealing with a shoulder injury. He's expected back today. Elijah Moore is considered day-to-day with a quad injury, the rookie out of New York playing for the Jets this season, and they're hopeful that he can return to practice next week. Corey Davis had a monster game over the weekend for the Jets, his first preseason game, his first time wearing a Jets uni, and he looked pretty good. He was targeted. The first 4 throws of the game went to Corey Davis. He was targeted on every one of his passing routes as well. So I think he's in line for a lot of usage and targets. Anthony Miller was traded from Chicago to Houston just a couple weeks ago, and then Randall Cobb left Houston and went to Green Bay. Anthony Miller, I thought, would fall into a lot of targets, a lot of opportunity, a fresh start for the kid. Not really on anybody's draft radar, but somebody maybe you can take late in best balls, or if you're in a deep league. I think he could pop up on the waiver wire, but probably not anymore. The shoulder injury, and Houston says that they're hopeful that he can play this season. So that's not great to hear that. And then Stefan Diggs, who's been dealing with the knee injury, has been in and out of practice. He's confident that it's not going to linger throughout the season, and his draft stock hasn't really changed all that much. It's just Devontae Adams up at the top, since Aaron Rodgers returned to camp. He's been the one that has moved up into the number one consensus pick among wide receivers. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the goods. We'll talk throughout some targets, some strategy as players pop up, some news items like David Johnson not happy about his third down role, and he's going to have to temper his own expectations a little bit. That came out of the Athletic here this morning, as you know, that David Johnson in the first preseason game was playing behind Phillip Lindsay, and on the Houston Texans depth chart, it's Mark Ingram who's listed as the one. That's a backfield you're going to want to stay away from. We'll talk about a couple other backfields as well. Keep her locked. Don't go anywhere. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Those hanging along here live on my Twitter account, welcome in. We have joined an Underdog best ball draft, the Puppy 2, and it is just about to start. And I'll bring in producer Tino here. He's also going to draft with me. Use the promo code FTN, $25 in your account. And I've done a lot of these, and they're pretty fun. And I believe, Tino, last week was your first, and you have done a lot since, I think. You're picking in the 12 spot here today, sir. I am picking in the 2 spot.
Yeah, so I don't love 12. I've now done this enough that I know which spots I like. Also, thanks for getting me hooked on this, and shout out to Underdog Fantasy. That promo code, I milked that $25 as much as I could, and I'm glad the puppy's back. If for anyone not in this yet, take advantage of it because I got in too late and I was disappointed I couldn't stay in and play a couple more teams on the puppy. But now the puppy 3's back. Meaney sent it to me and I told him I wanted to do it on the show, and here we are again. And hopefully I do better than the last time, Meaney. I don't like my performance the last time I was on here.
You learned, right? You learned.
Yeah.
And what we talked about before is that, that clock, it hits you. It comes at you fast. So in the 2 spot, I think last week I did a draft, heavy wide receiver off the top. And, I'll just kind of roll with the punches here as we go through. But the 2 spot, I can't really come off of Cook in that 2 spot. It's running back for me. If I was in the 3 or the 4, and I know it's just one pick, I still think at 3, I would go with Henry, and 4, I would go with Kamara, and then I'd think about Kelsey or Hill or Adams in that 5 spot. So you've done a few of these. Where do you like to be at?
Well, so I actually don't like to be where the picks are right now. I actually don't like in best ball 3 to 5 because I can't really marry Kamara, Henry, or even Zeke. Like all those running backs, obviously I'm a biased Giants fan a little bit here. So I love Saquon more than a lot of those guys ahead of him. I know in terms of ADP it doesn't make sense, but that's why I'd actually rather be later in the draft. If not the top 2, I'd rather later, so this way I can maybe take one of those top wide receivers off the board. I'm mirroring your strategy a little bit from the last time. I like getting Tyreek Hill if I can in the first round. I really do like that move. It just makes too much sense in best ball. It makes way too much sense to get a guy like Tyreek Hill.
See, I don't like to be in the top 5 either. I think it doesn't sit well with me. I'd like to be in that 6 to 10 range. I don't even mind at the ends. The end's okay. The 6 to 10 range where I can get one of those, either Adams, Hill, Kelsey, or Diggs. And you see it happening here. After Dalvin Cook at 2, it went Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Zeke. So the top 5 there. Devonta Adams at 6, and then Travis Kelsey at 7. So the decision here, Tyreek Hill, there it goes, right? You get into the pass catchers there, Aaron Jones, and now we're here coming closer to you with pick 10, 11, and then you for 2 straight. What are you thinking? Like, what's the goal here? Are you going to pick a wideout, 2 backs? What are you thinking?
Well, so we're going to see who falls to me here. I'm 1 away from Saquon, so that would help me make one decision. We're not sure if we're going to get him yet. I really do like Calvin Ridley in this format, too. I'm trying to switch up the way I'm drafting now that I've done enough of these, and I do understand why the last time we were on, you were going wide receiver heavy because you can really go a million ways with this. And once you get used to the board, and look at this, nice and easy, we won't have to overthink. We're going to go Saquon, and we're going to go Calvin Ridley. And yeah, I mean, I've done the wide receiver strategy, but I do think getting an RB1 in that first round, if the price is right, and getting Saquon at 112 is pretty good to me. I think that makes sense too, but I do value receiver early on in this draft more than I had when we first started this thing last week.
Yeah, it's easy to just dive into the wideouts in the first few rounds, and then there's some value at the running back position and just kind of shooting for upside throughout. I like that start. Ridley and Saquon, that's a pretty good start. I'm away here in 5 picks, and yeah, it's flying. So kind of to recap the end of the first and 4 picks away, Diggs, Eckler, Barkley to you, and then Ridley, Taylor, Hopkins, Mixon, Chubb, Gibson, Harris. So a bit of a running back run there. So they're starting to really fly off the board. And I think, if you pick near typically we're talking best ball here, but if we're not in just like a standard redraft, if I'm picking 1, 2, 3, I'm probably going back. And I like that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is sitting there towards the end of the second. I just think it's a really good target, and I may do that here. I may just go running back, and then, I could get Lamb, Keenan, or Tariq there probably.
Well, so that's the strategy I went with the last time. I had 1-1. I don't know why I keep getting rap picks now that I think about it on this show. I keep getting the rap, but I got Christian McCaffrey, and then we ended up taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But this guy just took him from you. A nice little robbery early in the draft here.
Burn me. I don't know how much AJ. I got a lot of AJ this year. I don't know. I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's fine to have AJ, but I got a lot of AJ. I could have maybe mixed it up there with Justin Jefferson. He's, like we said earlier off the show, he's expected back. But yeah, CEH absolutely torqued that this guy Jay Riddle jumps in and takes him right before me. Would have been pretty happy with the Delvin AJ start here. So keeping things moving here. Kittle is okay in that spot. I'm going to get myself a little San Fran stack potentially. I don't have a lot of CeeDee Lamb. What do you make of CeeDee Lamb? And have you been watching Hard Knocks?
I am glad you asked me that. I watched the first episode of Hard Knocks yesterday. I'm late to the game. I don't love Hard Knocks because obviously it's meant to hype you up and all the slow motion shots and Leaf Schreiber's voice. It's going to get you going. You're going to like certain guys more than you should. And I'm also a Giants fan, so, I can't stand watching the Cowboys. But besides that, I do like CD a lot. I actually took him in my first best ball draft yesterday. I'm just torn because him and Amari are so close to each other. I think that's the decision. I like CD's promise way more, especially in best ball, but Amari's sneaky. He has those 2-3 touchdown games every year that, I mean, in this format, like, CD's going to be more consistent maybe, but, like, I'm trying to put my finger around who's going to have the bigger upside or the bigger boom, and I think it could be Amari, but at the same time, I think CD will be the better all-around receiver this year. So it's tough. This format's different, meaning you've opened up Pandora's box. I have too many ways to look at this thing now.
Jake Seeley always says you can make a case for anybody in best ball, and although he's not wrong, but it is key to shoot for upside, I do believe. And now a lot of the players in the first 30 picks were here towards the end of the third round. I think a lot of them are studs. I decided to go another way and bypass a second running back and go with CeeDee Lamb. It was nice to see Michael Gallup play in the slot a little bit. This is going to be his last year in Dallas. It'll be interesting to see where he goes next year. I think he's a really decent dynasty target. You and I did a dynasty startup where I was able to take him as like wide receiver 50. Nobody seemed to want a piece of the third or fourth option in Dallas. So here you are, dude, to finish up the third and start the fourth. Walk us through this.
A little tough. I want David Montgomery, but then I have 2 bye weeks in week 10. I mean, I don't think it'll matter much. I probably want to stock up on running back a little bit more then and just kind of cover my trail. I love David Montgomery's upside, especially with Justin Fields getting worked into that offense. Seeing that preseason game got me excited for them. Now it's a little tricky, though. I've taken Mahomes everywhere, so I do want to switch things up. Probably receiver. Which one of these guys do I like? Mike Evans, Julio. Oh, man, this is a little tough. You know what? Give me my guy. You're going A.J. Brown. I'll go Julio Jones. How about that? Let's go Julio Jones. Why not?
Yeah, I like Julio, man. I like Julio this year, and I for where he's going, I think it's a bit of a value. I really like Ryan Tannehill quite a bit, actually, and he's been one of the better fantasy quarterbacks. Actually, it's a little trivia for you. Since he took over the Titans halfway through 2019, can you guess how many quarterbacks have more fantasy points than him? So it's basically all of last year and half of 2019.
Okay. Well, I was going to say he's definitely top 10. Now, I'll say we'll go 7. 7 quarterbacks. Give me him at QB8.
Only 2 quarterbacks have more fantasy points than him.
Oh, my God.
Only 2 since he took over as the starter of the Tennessee Titans. And one of them is not even Patrick Mahomes. It's Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen.
Wow.
Ryan Tannehill's been pretty good. He's sneaky on the ground. He's been running a few touchdowns in over the past couple of years. Now we know once they get in there, it is Henry. But a couple times Tennessee will fool you a little bit. They think, okay, we'll hand it off to Henry, and it's a QB keep bootleg around the other side, and he runs it in. And now just getting a deep threat guy in Ryan Tannehill or in Julio Jones and what this offense can do. Like, what do you do, man? If you bring a safety in over the top to deal with Henry, then you got to deal with Julio and you got AJ. So I think this is going to be a remarkable offense.
So I think the tricky thing about that question is more that, because I don't know how many QB1 finishes he's had, but I think of fantasy, and you got Rodgers last year, and you think of the Ryan Fitzpatricks of the world, and these guys with these quick spurts and high-scoring weeks in fantasy. But, I mean, again, consistency. I mean, Ryan Tannehill really is consistent. And it's amazing what you can do when Adam Gase is no longer your head coach. It's amazing. Like, you just get set free into the wilderness, and he just spreads those wings and fly. I'm happy for Ryan Tannehill. I am, because he's a guy a lot of people wrote off, during his days in Miami. And he was the backup in Tennessee, wasn't he? Behind Mariota, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to take Pitts here. We talked about Kyle Pitts. I think yesterday maybe we were off air where we chatted about Kyle Pitts. So we mentioned Julio and all the targets that are gone from him. And then we get Kyle Pitts here as a rookie tight end. You know the narrative. It takes some time, but he's just a freak. He's going to line up all over the field. I think Hayden Hurst is going to play a little bit too, but there's a lot of targets that are up for grabs. Matt Ryan always among the leaders in passing attempts. So we go with Kyle Pitts there at pick 47, his ADP at 47.2. I like that with Underdog. You get a bit of a feel if you've kind of reached on a guy, if there's any value. So I am up again, and then we'll go to a bit of a little quick commercial break. I'm going to continue with no, I can't. I got to go running back. It'll be super thin if I don't.
I kind of like your start so far, so I want to see what you do here. I do like the 4 that you've gone with here, and the fact that you're able to get CD still. I like it.
I'm going Chase. I'm going to go Chase here. I'm going to go with Chase, heavy wideout again. Let's break and talk about that Bengals offense. Don't go anywhere. Mean Streets continues right here on Game Plus Network. You're watching Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you, producer Tino, and I running through an Underdog best ball draft here. Tino is up in a couple picks, so he's going to finish out the 5th round for us. A little bit of a QB run there. Lamar Jackson and then Josh Allen, and now you are on deck with 2. What are you thinking?
God, I can't get Jerry Jeudy in enough leagues. I also would like to have an all Alabama wide receiver core, so it would be cool if I could somehow get Ridley Jones and Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, I love Judy's upside. Obviously a big play in preseason, that's great, but we talked about it the last best ball draft. I also took him. I think in that one I had to take him as like my wide receiver 2 because I decided to wait, but the dude's just gonna get open. So makes my life easy. I'm going to take a time here. Do I go Josh Jacobs with this next pick? I kind of don't hate that. I kind of don't hate it. Sermon's there. That's more of an upside play. Oh, this is a little tough here. Could go receiver again. Dak's on the board. I don't want to take your boy Devonta. We talked about that a little bit. I'm going to wait on tight end. So, Jacobs. Oh, this is a little difficult. But you know what? Let's go with it. I'm going to go Josh Jacobs here. I feel pretty good about that, actually.
Josh Jacobs. Yeah, Mets came on the show yesterday. Didn't like Josh Jacobs. I think a lot of people are down on Josh Jacobs, but to the point where Josh Jacobs is a bit of a value. We know that he could be an RB1. They bring in Kenyon Drake, but we've seen it before. He still has been able to be an RB1 with the down games, and he is game script dependent, is what Mets said. And I do believe that, and the Raiders are not favored in a lot of games, but they want to run the football. And I think you can say that about a lot of running backs in the league. Like, there's not a lot of bell cow backs. There's definitely a handful, and I think that's why they fly off the board in the first round fairly early in your regular redraft league. I think it's important to have maybe one out of the first 2 picks be a running back. I sometimes like to go RB wide receiver RB, but a lot of running backs in the league are game script dependent. If they're down, they're just not going to be on the field if they don't catch passes, and that's why it's so valuable to have a true bell cow back.
So my issue there, Jacobs to some value. My problem there was that there was Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson on the board. I wanted to go because I've been going tight end early, so that's really the reason I didn't go with one of those 2 guys. I feel like the value made sense to get a tight end there, but yeah, I'm going to take a flyer on Jacobs. The thing is, too, I know everyone loves Kenyon Drake, but since he's been in Miami to Arizona, I feel like he's going to have a very similar role. Could he take over? Sure, but I don't know. I'm not sipping the tea too much there on him. I think he's going to be a good compliment, but I do think that's Josh Jacobs' backfield.
I agree. I think everything is going to go through Jacobs. I think he's going to be the goal line back there. I think he's going to get first and second down reps, and Kenyon Drake probably move him all over the field a bit and some third down reps. I was thinking I could get Williams coming back, which would have been remarkable. I would have been thrilled with that start here. So now I'm looking at a running back, and geez, I'm up already. So Myles Gaskin, Chase Edmonds, Michael Carter, Raheem Mostert, James Robinson. So we're getting into some committees, or I could go another route with the wide receivers. Oh, Dak's still there. So Dak, you know what? I'm going to do a bit of a Dallas stack here. Let's do Dak. I don't have too many Cowboy stacks. I'm with you. I don't really care for the team, but I know that they're going to throw the football, and the defense still hasn't improved that much. We talked about it yesterday that Dak finally returned to practice. It doesn't sound like he's going to play, if at all, in the preseason. If he does suit up, it'll be very, very small sample for him in the preseason as he's coming back from not only the ankle injury, but dealing with the shoulder injury as well. So a bit of a Dak, CeeDee Lamb there. Maybe I can get myself a Michael Gallup a little bit. I would have to do that right now, probably. I'm not totally feeling that.
I think that's too
Myles
soon.
Gaskin. Yeah, I'm going to talk me through Myles Gaskin. What's your feeling on the whole Brown Gaskin thing from preseason? Like,
I'm
are
on
you down
your
on
side.
Gaskin now?
I'm on your side because it is Malcolm Brown. We said this on All In Football yesterday, or you did at least, and it's Malcolm Brown. So I'm not going to, be too scared about this. I think it's more that Salvin Ahmed is there and kind of can play a very similar Myles Gaskin role, which is kind of what worries me more than Malcolm Brown. But I do think, Gaskin has the highest upside. I mean, in terms of best ball, that's what we're talking about here. We can sell anyone on best ball, but Gaskin in that backfield has the most upside. I'm not worried about Malcolm Brown, but I think Salvin Ahmed working in there actually in the pass catching role kind of worries me a little bit, because if Brown ends up getting the groundwork, more mouths to feed in the passing game, because Malcolm Brown's going to be non-existent, on third down. So we'll see. If there's a timeshare on third down touches for Gaskin, we're in trouble.
Brutal.
But if he can clear the way there, I think we're in good shape. I actually wanted to ask you though in that decision. So I've had this come up a bunch. I'm starting to lean to James Robinson, and I don't know why. In that spot right there, it's Carter, Gaskin, Mostert, Robinson. Yeah, maybe Mostert you could kind of sell yourself on, but I mean, James Robinson, we're talking about a guy who won leagues last year for people. And just because Etienne's there, and I get that, I don't think the Jags are going to be very good. And if he plays a similar role to last year, I'm not saying he's going to finish like, top 5 RB, but where we're at in this, minefield of running backs, I think the value makes a lot of sense with James Robinson at RB 32.
I think it does too, and he's just going to continue to fall down draft boards. You see the ADP 93. It was like, even with Etienne drafted just a couple months after that, it was still mid 80s. So he has fallen a little bit, but Urban Meyer is just going to be a headache. I think the entire year it's going to be so confusing to figure out this backfield. But why not take the cheaper one? And I don't mean Carlos Hyde, but Carlos Hyde is probably going to get a few touches too. But I do think that James Robinson would be the goal line back there. When I was looking at the backs with Gaskin, I was also looking at Mostert and Michael Carter, who I didn't like the fact that he was splitting first and second carries when there was no Tevin Coleman and he wasn't catching balls out of the backfield. Carter, it was Ty Johnson. But, back to James Robinson, you can't just completely ignore him. And you're up here, so maybe you're thinking about him, but he could be the goal line back. He could be a back that maybe just gets 10 to 11 carries. I don't think he's going to be involved too much through the air, and that I think is
I was thinking about him, but I have 3 running backs already, and now this is just like, all right, here's a long-term plan. Bro. So I'm going to go Darnell Mooney because I do want to take Justin Fields down the road. So I'm going to go Mooney. I'm trying to take some guys I haven't taken before. I have Hardman, Fuller I took a shot on. What is good with Michael Thomas? Can somebody answer these questions for me? Because I see this guy just sitting there nonstop. It's like, yeah, he's not going to come back, but in this format, all right, this is going to be a little different. This is a reach, but I kind of do like where he's at. Give me Logan Thomas. Give me a little Logan Thomas action. So I saw the Redskins preseason game. Oh, the football team. Sorry. The football team's preseason game. And Fitzmagic looked like Fitzmagic. Obviously, they're going to air the ball out a ton. Sure-handed. And I just love his role in that offense. I really do. I'm not buying the fact that, again, he's going to finish where he was. But in terms of a wasteland of tight ends, I do think over Dallas Goedert at least, who's going to be now splitting with Zach Ertz, I like Logan Thomas. I really do like him in that spot.
We'll talk more Logan Thomas when we return here on Mean Streets. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and producer Tino here with you, taking part in a best ball draft, Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code FCN. Lots of great content over at FCNFantasy.com. Lots of free best ball content, stacks, cheap stacks. No, every kind of strategy that you can think of. Wide receiver heavy, running back heavy. Let's take tight ends. 3-man best ball leagues where everybody's team is awesome. But yeah, they really are. And it's fun to actually do those 3-mans because you do walk away and it's like, man, this team is great, but there's a lot of great teams that are out there. But those are fun. We got strategies for those. I usually kind of go heavy tight end and wide receiver off the hop. So here I am. You mentioned Michael Thomas. I'm going to bypass Michael Thomas. James Robinson is still hanging out there as well. I'm going to move down the board here a little bit and go with Corey Davis. We talked a lot about him yesterday, and then off the hop, I could have easily gone Michael Gallup there. I know we both said it was a bit of a reach, but that's kind of what I regret so far with this team, not going Gallup and maybe just having that full-on Dallas stack with CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, and Dak Prescott, and maybe attacking Blake Jarwin there a little bit later on. I don't know if you can hear my dog is absolutely freaking out. I ordered some stuff, some soundproofing stuff for the room, for the show. FedEx might be here for that. We'll pick that up later. All right, running backs. James Robinson is still there. Ronald Jones. I think I'm going to go with another wide receiver. It's also gross.
Real gross. This is the part
like Landry. I'm going to take Pittman. I'm going to take Pittman. It doesn't make you feel great. I'm still in on Pittman. It was slightly early. All the reports at Indy say that Carson Wentz is looking like he's on track for week 1. Quentin Nelson looking like he's on track for week 1. I know there's a lot of people that are sour on Wentz, and I get it. I've been sour on Wentz before, but I think he can do enough back with Frank Reich behind that offensive line at Indy. I think he'll still think one of the best offensive lines in football. They'll have a strong run game and a strong defense where Wentz we won't be throwing that much. Let's just limit the mistakes and see if you could, push the ball down the field. I know that Elliot Chris has a bet on Carson Wentz to have most picks in the NFL. I think he said it on this show, Tino.
Well, I don't know if he's going to get that now because he's probably not going to play very much this season, but we'll see. I mean, maybe he could do it in a short period of time. I did want to bring up, so you take Corey Davis, which I'm starting to work myself into Corey Davis. Elijah Moore falling obviously because of the injury, but I mean, you'd think back like a week or so, and I don't think there's a conversation. You're probably grabbing Elijah Moore over Corey Davis. Do you do that because of the injury? Is that the sole reason behind that?
I don't. I like Davis. I'm a Corey Davis fan, and I liked him out of the draft. I know maybe the TO comparisons weren't fair, and it took him a little bit to get going, but I think that was mostly, you're up here for a couple picks, but I think that was mostly, Matt LaFleur not really figuring it out with the Titans when he was there calling the shots. Remember, they were going back and forth between Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis, and my goodness, it took him forever to figure out that Henry was such a beast to roll with Henry. And also just the poor quarterback play with Marcus Mariota and then Tannehill getting there under center. You pick Justin Fields there, nice pick. So Corey Davis, I think, is in line for the targets. He's got a solidified role where Elijah Moore may take a little bit to get going with Jamison Crowder still in the slot. He's a rookie overall, or after all. But I'd like Elijah Moore, but I do like Corey Davis slightly more. So what'd you do here? You went Justin Fields?
This is brutal. I'm trying to look ahead, but I'm not going to have enough time to pull this off. So I'm going to go take care of this and get a guy like I'm going to take Mike Gesicki here, and kind of now I get to sit on tight end just to reassure my Logan Thomas pick. Tanyan is a guy I do like at the tight end position, but I'm not fully sold on, and I have Noah Fant in way too many best ball drafts. So with that said, I had to diversify here and go Mike Gesicki. Now, I told you, and I think this might have been off air while we were in the green room there for a second, but my plan at quarterback was to wait and get some young guys knowing where the value is, and ideally I want to get Fields to pair with Mooney, and I'm thinking of getting Gesicki so I could pair him with Tua and treat those guys as my two quarterbacks, because right now Tua's ADP is 144, so I can get a lot of value on the way to drafting Tua. So I feel okay about it. I've told you this 1,000 times. Justin Fields is my favorite quarterback in this draft class. I think it's a matter of time before he starts. I don't know when he will start at this point, but if he keeps doing what he's doing, I just think he's too exciting. I think he's too exciting.
Yeah.
Meaning we didn't see his legs enough in college, and you got to see it in that first preseason game. The guy can do it with both. So that's upside. That's upside to me.
Oh, tremendous upside. I just love where those guys are going in Lance and with Fields. has Lance gone yet? Yeah, he's gone. So, I mean, both of those guys, man, they're rising up draft boards here. A month ago, there was no way that those guys were going ahead of Tom Brady and Stafford or Joe Burrow. And even Trevor Lawrence. It just wasn't happening. But over the past month, nobody has risen more than Justin Fields or Trey Lance. And as you see here, they're both top 15 quarterbacks. And I'll walk through this pick. I think I'm going to go with James Conner here. You know what? My expectations are not high with James Conner. I think he's a good running back when he's healthy and he's on the field, and that's the biggest thing. That's why he's going here as pick 118 on average. You know, there's upside. He does seem to be the goal line back there. Chase Edmonds is not going to be that guy. He had 1 red zone carry last year. Kenyon Drake had the most red zone carries from the second half of the season on at the running back position when Kyler suffered that shoulder injury. So Conner, if he can stay healthy, if he can just be a guy that touches the ball 12 times in this offense, maybe he can catch 1 or 2 balls out of the backfield, get those red zone touches, maybe fall into 6 or 7 touchdowns. I think he could return value, but the health is certainly one of the biggest question marks when it comes to James Conner. I want to continue to talk about Fields. I'm going to go with Terrace Marshall here, take another upside. Actually, Marquise Callaway is interesting too. He had the big game.
Don't take him from me, Meaney. Don't take him from me.
All right, I'll let you have him.
If he
I'll
gets
go
to
with
me.
Marshall. Marshall's a bit of a. I'd like him. It's a bit of a bummer to grab a wide receiver. I guess he's my 6th. That's fine. Again, he's the 4th option in the passing game unless something happens. I will say this. It was nice to see Marshall play all over the field in the first preseason game. Line up in the slot, outside. A lot of what he did at LSU. Remember when they had the historical offense with Joe Burrow, and it was Jamar Chase there. It was also Justin Jefferson, and Terrace Marshall was playing a little bit in the slot, and then he got to play a little bit of outside last season. I think he's more suited for a slot role. 5 targets in his first preseason game, 2 of them in the red zone, explosive after the catch. He had the 60-yard catch there as well. I think he could be a factor for Carolina because they don't really use the tight end, so he could be that tight end, middle of the field, short yardage guy, or red zone target for Sam Darnold. And also, it proved to me that, 1, if anything happens to Robbie Anderson or DJ Moore, this guy could move around the field, and he's capable of playing on the outside. We've seen that, as I mentioned, in college and already here in week 1 of the preseason. And 2, from a dynasty standpoint, my goodness, the sky's the limit because I don't think they're going to bring back Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson's on the final year of his deal. I know he has his connection, let's go with that word instead, with Sam Darnold playing together with the Jets. They're familiar with each other. And I think that Robbie is a great pick this year, but I also think moving forward, Terrace Marshall is going to be a big part of that offense, and I'm excited for him and Brady, who they're both familiar with as well at LSU. So you're coming up here, but before I'm throwing to you again with Justin Fields, before I came on here, again, I was watching NFL Network, and Matt Nagy, no, it is Andy Dalton. We're going to give Andy Dalton a few more reps this time because he only had a few reps, and it was all Justin Fields. If Andy Dalton struggles with a few more reps in week 2 of the preseason, that's just the writing is going to be on the wall, man, that it could potentially be Fields week 1.
He can give Andy Dalton as many reps as he wants. It's not going to turn back the clock, okay? We're not talking about Andy Dalton when he was actually in his prime with Cincy, okay? I mean, dude, Justin Fields is just next level, and, I mean, the play will speak for itself. All right, so I will go Callaway here just because I need to buy some time. I was hoping Kenyon Drake kind of fell to me, so this way I could lock up that backfield. I know handcuffs are weird in this situation, but I kind of like the idea, so this way I didn't have to go running back again. Oh, man. So do I actually follow through with the plan here, Meaney? Everything's going according to plan. I could go up and get 2 already. Do I want to? With the board, Jamal Williams is staring at me. You know I love Jamal. I know you. I don't think we should overreact in the first preseason game. I don't think we should overreact. He's going to have a role. He's going to be decent. Okay, I'm just going to do this for the sake of the strategy. We're going to do it for the sake of the strategy.
You went with your plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Follow through. See it through.
With your plan. Okay, we'll talk to it in Miami. We got a couple more breaks here. Don't go anywhere. The best ball draft will continue here, and you are watching Mean Streets on Game Plus Network. You're watching Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and producer Tino here with you, and I am on the clock. I am up. Here we are with the 11th pick in the 12th round. I'll run through, recap the teams here at the end, and run through what we're doing here. I'm going to take Matt Ryan here and pair him up with Fields, and then maybe I can take a shot on another flyer here in the Atlanta offense. So I'm up here in a couple more picks. We can recap maybe the 12th here. Yeah, I got some time. It sneaks up on you. It really does. Let's not recap. I'm up here in 2 picks.
As you
Irv
said,
Smith
I have
after Matt Ryan.
You're like, I have time. The pick comes in and you have 20 seconds. And I'm like, yeah, no,
and I don't have time. So what am I at here? I got 3 running backs: Cook, Gaskin, Connor, Brown, Lamb, Chase, Davis, Pittman, Marshall. I'm going to go probably take another running back here. Take an upside guy. Xavier Jones is nice. White. Let's go with Damian Williams. It looks like he's going to have a role. I am a little concerned that maybe Tariq Cohen can come back here, but it does look like he's going to have a role with Chicago. And you picked Dave Montgomery earlier, and I like that pick. I still think Montgomery is where he's going, and I think it's a terrific value as a top 5 running back last year. A lot of the usage that we saw, I mean, he hit career highs across the board, but a lot of usage we saw that was different from year 1 and year 2 was that Matt Nagy finally, came to his senses to give him give the running back the football, but also to target him through the air. We may not have seen that if Tariq Cohen didn't go down, but Cohen is slowly getting back into football shape, and Damian Williams is involved through the air and catching passes. I think there was probably more upside with James White because he's probably going to have that role all year as the pass catching back out of New England. And then maybe Tariq Cohen comes in and it gets a little muddy with Chicago with the 3 running backs, but more so muddy with Cohen and Williams as opposed to Montgomery and those guys, because Montgomery's going to get those touches inside the goal line in the first and second down reps. So let's bring up the grid and walk through what I'm doing. You're coming up here in a couple picks. Keep an eye, good sir. Dalvin Cook at the 2 spot, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase. So I got some wide receivers on teams that I think will throw the football, apart from the Titans. But A.J. Brown has had a couple solid years here in the league, a big A-dot guy and after the catch, and he's very explosive. He's always been since he's entered the league, he's been among the leaders in yards per catch. CeeDee Lamb, defense bad. I expect a lot of targets and a lot of usage there. Kyle Pitts, same sort of deal here with Atlanta. And Matt Ryan to pair him up. Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow is second in the league in passing attempts per game last year, 40.4 behind Big Ben at 40.5. Dak Prescott, a little bit of a risky pick, but he's going in the 6th here now due to the shoulder. You're on deck. And then Myles Gaskin, Corey Davis, Michael Pittman, James Conner, Terrace Marshall, Matt Ryan, Damian Williams. You, sir, are on the clock for 2. You went Saquon Ridley to start, Dave Montgomery, Julio, Jerry Jeudy, Josh Jacobs, Darnell Mooney, Logan Thomas, Justin Fields, Mike Gesicki, Marquez Callaway, Tua Tagovailoa. And then what are you doing here?
I'm going to get one of my favorite young guys. I think I'm going to have too much of him when all these best ball drafts are all said and done. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, I like his body of work. I like what I kind of saw in that preseason game, just in terms of route running and just making plays. And someone's got to win that wide receiver 1 competition over in Detroit. I know Tyrell Williams is the favorite. I'm just going to do it for the sake of doing it so I could talk about it, but I'm going to take our guy Malcolm Brown. Why not? I like him more than Phillip Lindsay, and I wanted to bring this up to you because now we're both going to pass up on Lindsay, but are we not sipping the tea on that either? He seems like he could be a starter, no? I mean, he rushed for 1,000 yards before in Denver. I feel like I should like Phillip Lindsay more, but obviously he plays for Houston, so we don't love that. And then, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like it makes sense to take him in terms of if you're looking for a starter or a potential starter, but I mean, the upside isn't there, right? I mean, that's what I think it comes down to. You kind of know what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah. If and I don't even care that DJ's there. And Mark Ingram may not do a whole lot. Like Mark Ingram last year looked toast. He really did. He looked awful. But just the fact that he's there. Right? Just the fact that he's there and it's annoying, and who knows who's going to be the guy to get the goal line carries. Like, those are significant. Who's going to be the guy to get the touches? On the Texans depth chart, they have Mark Ingram as the 1 and Lindsay as the 2 and David Johnson as the 3. And I mentioned off the top of the show, DJ said it's going to be tough for him to, accept this limited role. So it does sound like that's the role he's going to have here as a 3rd down back and maybe, a change of pace kind of guy. he finished as an RB2 last year, but there was a lot of injuries and there's a lot of poor performances. And we get some studs back like Saquon and CMC this season. So I don't expect him to finish as top 20. But I think Lindsay, where he's going here, 166 ADP, we're right in around, the mark. I think he's a fine back. He is a fine back. Can catch balls with the backfield. You mentioned the 1,000-yard season. Doesn't he have two? He may have two or close to it.
You might have to take him. You might have to take. Oh, he just went. Oh my gosh.
He just went.
Wow.
But I'm fine with Lindsay. At this point, right? You are shooting for upside, and he could be a bell cow back. He could fall into that role. And I know it's the Texans, and they're not going to score a lot of points, but he can catch. That's a plus. He can catch a few balls out of the backfield. I was eyeing Komet there. I really was. I was taking a look at him. That's a bit of a bummer. I'll probably do Blake Jarwin if I can get him. I'll see if I can wait. I may have to reach next pick. And Blake Jarwin, I mean, before the injury, he was on pace to certainly be a top 10 tight end. You just wonder how many Dallas guys can Dak make fantasy relevant? All of them? I don't know if he's going to continue. Oh, no, I'm up. It went Ingram. We'll break and I'll cry about it. We'll return.
God.
We'll break and I'll cry about it. And we'll return. Don't go anywhere. What up? All right, welcome back to Mean Streets. I cried about it. I did not want Evan Ingram, but I do think he's a talented football player despite the drops. Tino's he's the Giants fan. He sees him in and out. Man, look at the difference in ADP, like 149 and pick 167 for Evan Ingram. It screwed up what I was thinking here, that I was going to go with James White, who I ended up taking after him in the break. And then I was probably leaning towards a Tyrell Williams. And that's what I was thinking, maybe Tyrell or Brashad Perriman, but then I take Ingram and away you go. Ingram, I mean, dude, at that point, pretty good value. I mean, the upside to be a top 12 tight end, like score a touchdown here and there, and then you're a top 12 tight end.
The thing is, he's probably not going to score many touchdowns. Meaning, you got to catch the ball to score touchdowns. It's very simple. And he just doesn't do it. I was live at FanFest. He got one target in front of the home crowd and dropped it in true Evan Ingram fashion. I'm at the point with him, he can light up. If he should play preseason game 2, he can light it up until he does it in the regular season. It won't matter to most Giants fans. Sneaky guy here, by the way, taking KJ Hamler. Really like that. I got the two big play guys in Denver now, in Judy and him. I like them both second-year guys. I think I got to go running back again here. So let me just think this one out. Ew, Tevin Coleman. Oh, these are all just really bad. This is gross. Do I just... Here's what I'm going to do. I don't love this idea, but why not? We're going to go with a little overhype on the preseason. A little old preseason overhype with Ramondre Stevenson. Why not? Patriots back. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Again, at that point, it's, it may not feel like a great pick in a redraft, but we're shooting for upside here in best ball formats. We saw the explosiveness. He looks a little bit slimmer than he did, I think, at earlier in training camps and when he was playing football in college. I think he does look a little slimmer there, a little quicker on that run. We'll say that. And so let's recap here. I'm up in 6 picks or so. I didn't like the way that this thing finished here. We got about 2.5 minutes here to round things out. We probably won't finish with the entire draft here, but my last couple picks. So Matt Ryan, Damian Williams, Evan Ingram, James White. And that's the thing. I think I was just Towards the end here when you're taking some shots on these running backs, we talked about Lindsey in a role this year that could be a bell cow back. And, I've been taking some flyers on just running backs who catch the ball out of the backfield. Now, I think Darrington Evans is a pretty decent target. Is a guy who could catch the ball out of the backfield. And Tevin Coleman is like not somebody that I'm interested in, but at this point, like if you are avoiding running backs and you can get him as your fifth, I don't think that's awful. They kept him out of the first preseason game. Robert Saleh is clearly very familiar with him in San Fran. 2 years, I believe, he coached the Niners when Tevin Coleman was there. So we saw him every day at practice, practicing up against his defense. So clearly there was something that Saleh liked in Coleman, or they wouldn't have signed him and brought him over. And I do believe the offense will run pretty similar to Shanahan. It'll have some pieces from the Kyle Shanahan offense, some play action behind a very strong offensive line, and not have your rookie quarterback and Zach Wilson throw the football 45 plus times, but they may have to anyways. It is the Jets. But Coleman, Evans, Hubbard had the strong game, but it is CMC. But you wonder, right, some upside there if something happens to CMC. You got a running back now that's probably going to fall into 18 touches and not really have to split time with other guys in that backfield. It does seem like it would be his backfield. Devontae Booker could be an interesting guy. I guess you could have the Giants backfield if you wanted to go that way. I'll probably go with another wide receiver here. John Brown, Alan Lazard, Darius Slater, Josh Palmer is the one that's most appealing to me out of those four. I do like John Brown, too, as an upside guy. I have a lot of Palmer. What's cool about these best ball drafts is you can see your exposure, the percentage of certain players, all the players that you've drafted. And I think I'm up well over 50% when it comes to Josh Palmer. And he's going to be fighting with Guyton, I believe. And it was Palmer who had the more impressive game. There's an opening there for some targets, at least for somebody to be the number 3. I guess we could call him the number 4. If Mike Williams is the 3 and Keenan Allen's the 1/2, and also Austin Eckler getting targets out of the backfield, 7.1 targets per game last year with Justin Herbert under center. So we got 2 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks. I got 7 wideouts, 5 backs. I may go another quarterback here. Yeah, gross. Deshaun Watson's hanging around. My goodness. I could go Watson, I suppose. If he does start 10 games, he's probably better than Matt Ryan.
Well, if you wanted to know what's really gross, I just realized I subconsciously I went with a Chicago Bear stack, and I don't really know why I did that. I think I bought Justin Fields too much. No, it's just that having Montgomery with Fields and Mooney now is a little interesting. I didn't actually put 2 and 2 together, so something to think about. I got excited about
Fields. About for sure.
Yeah.
We got to bounce, dude. Unfortunately, won't be there for your final pick, but we can recap this draft towards the end. If you want to subscribe to our FTN YouTube page, you could see it there as well. If you're looking for baseball picks, check out ftnbets.com. Use the promo code Meaney and reach out at any moment at Chris Meaney. Hopefully, you enjoyed the show tomorrow. We're going to talk some PGA and more football talk. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Cheers.